G'day cocktail lovers, this is an Amaretto whiskey sour. Now it's not an Amaretto sour, and it's not the version of the Amaretto sour Jeffrey Morgenthaler developed that had whiskey in it. That's mainly Amaretto supported by whiskey to give it a bit of a beefy punch. A beefy punch? Where did that come from? There's just a whole bunch of people that I've probably traumatized with that just incredibly disturbing phrase. Let's move on. What I actually did, and this was inspired when I was looking around at a few other recipes using Amaretto in unusual places, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do one. It's a whiskey sour, which was probably the first cocktail I seriously got into, and I have less than I used to. In fact, less than I should, I think, because the whiskey sour and sours generally are great. But what I'm doing with this one, instead of Morgenthaler's Amaretto sour, where it's mostly Amaretto and supported by whiskey, this is mostly whiskey and using Amaretto as the sweetener. And it's actually inspired by this whiskey. This is from a group called White Possum. They're the people I get my casks from, if you remember me doing cask-aged cocktails, etc. And they make liqueurs. And what they did is actually get some single malt whiskey from a distillery called Chief Sun, which is about an hour's drive from me, make great whiskies. And they finished it in a barrel that they'd aged Amaretto in. See, I'm using their Amaretto as well. They call it naked Amaretto because there's nothing artificial in it. And you'll notice it's much darker than most Amarettos are. It's really quite tasty. And so the whiskey was aged in the barrels where they aged this Amaretto. This is not actually the barrel-aged Amaretto. They've sold that separately, and I haven't tried it yet. But I thought, this is just, Amaretto, 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 and I'm hoping it came out well. Let's give it a taste test and try it. Unsurprisingly, this has come out really well. Here's how I made it. In a shaker, we put 2 ounces or 60 mils of the whiskey of your choice, and then we're adding 3/4 of an ounce, which is around 22.5 mils of Amaretto. Then add 3/4 of an ounce or 22.5 mils of lemon juice. And then I'm also adding 1/4 of an ounce, around 7.5 mils of orgeat. Then I'm adding 1 dash of aromatic bitters, and because I like my sours foamy, I'm putting in a few drops of a foaming agent. I'm doing a dry shake first, which means shaking the cocktail for about 15-20 seconds without ice in it. And then I'm adding the ice that I was using to chill my glass, and then I'm going to shake it again for another 10 or 15 seconds so it's nice and chilled. You could serve this over ice, but I'm serving it up in a Nick and Nora glass, and because I think it looks nice against the foam, I'm adding a maraschino cherry on a skewer as the garnish. Sours don't have to be foamy. The oldest tradition is using egg white, which I just find a bit messy. I've got nothing against egg white sours, and you can also use a vegan alternative called aquafaba, or there are a few commercial foaming agents on the market like the one I use. Like I said, the foam bit is optional. I like it. I like how it looks, and I like the mouthfeel. This has come together really nicely. It's much more like a whiskey sour than an Amaretto sour, but a little bit of the nuttiness. And that's also why I added a little bit of orgeat. I just thought, just another little bit of nuttiness to accentuate that side of it. And it's made it into a really nice old-fashioned, I was going to say old-fashioned. It's made it into a really nice sour, and as an experiment, the result has been good. File this under always encouraging new folks to experiment out there. Like, I can safely wager no one has this because it was an incredibly limited edition, but when you've got something interesting or unusual, use it for inspiration, and that's what I've done here, and it's worked really well, and I hope it gives you ideas for something to do on your own, even just with a regular whiskey and Amaretto like this. I think if you've tried an Amaretto sour and a Morgenthaler Amaretto sour, try it this way. I think it's quite an interesting alternative, and I hope to hear from you if you do try it. And either way, I hope you're back and seeing some more videos later, because I'm going to make plenty more. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy this. Hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are, and until I see you again, I'll say cheers.